Greetings and welcome to this video on how to make a virtual choir. Today, I am joined by three virtual colleagues, Kathleen Hansen, Troy Robertson, and Laura Sam. Together, we will walk you through the 6 steps to making a virtual choir. Our goal is to help all of you out there who want to make virtual choirs but may be intimidated or even overwhelmed by the prospect. Okay, so step 1, pick your music and get the legal licenses. I'm going to be honest, this process can be extremely complicated and frustrating. But for now, let's say you've chosen the perfect piece of music, gotten the legal clearances for your virtual choir, and are ready to begin. Troy?
Thanks, David. With that, let's move on to step 2 and create some guide tracks. For each part of this process, you have options, and your choices are going to determine how long your project takes to complete. You can keep it simple and create just an audio track, or you can use the audio track and combine it with video of yourself conducting or footage of the score. To begin, I make a score in a notation program such as Sibelius or Finale. I export an XML file from there, and this becomes the basis for my guide tracks. If the piece is a cappella, if there's a lot of tempo variation or fermatas, a click track really helps the singers to be more unified and expressive. This is just a percussion line that subdivides the beat. I create all of this in a digital audio workspace such as Logic, Pro Tools, Audacity, or GarageBand. Though we want our singers to read well, mixing separate tracks for your sopranos, altos, tenors, and basses with one part predominating helps them sing with confidence. Finally, if I want to create a movie guide and add visual elements such as footage of myself conducting or images of the score, I use the techniques that Laura is going to talk to us about in just a moment. Once you've got your guide tracks, it's time for step 3, creating the submission procedures for your singers. You'll need a cloud storage option for this since video files are so large. I use Google Drive. Just like us, our singers are getting used to something new. For this reason, I encourage you to make it as easy as possible in your first project. I create a one-page document that includes a materials list, some helpful reminders for recording, a hyperlink that leads to their voice part guide, and a hyperlink that leads to a Google form. For materials, they need either a laptop to listen and record or a phone and second screen. They'll also need some headphones, wired or Bluetooth, it doesn't matter which. I encourage all my singers to record on their smartphones as this keeps things fairly standardized and simple. As for recording, I like to have my singers record in portrait mode so that their face fills most of the screen, and in selfie mode so that they can see whether or not they're in frame. I also encourage them to turn off the AC to reduce noise, consider what's in the background, think about what they're going to wear, and to be expressive in their face. When it comes time to submit the recording, a Google form is handy because it prompts singers to submit a file instead of requiring them to figure out that process on their own. It can be confusing. Once they've submitted their video, it's time to start editing, which means it's Kathleen's turn.
Thanks, Troy. The next part of the process is to edit the audio. Just like when you're rehearsing a choir, we want a final product that is synchronized, well-balanced, and resonant. There are plenty of different programs that we can use for audio editing. Some are quite simple, and some take a little bit more work to learn to use, but have broader capability for an even more professional sound. Please check out my linked Google document. There I give an overview about many of the different audio and video programs that are available for this kind of work. I'm working in Logic Pro, but most of the editing programs have a very similar layout. After I've downloaded the singer's recordings, I just drag and drop them into my project. Once you have those imported, you can just drag them right or left until they sync up. A quick tip, I will pan the guide track to the left and the track I'm working on to the right to make this easier. After they're synchronized, I'll do a rough volume adjustment on each track to get a baseline balance. Then I edit out any stray noises or loud breaths. Finally, since most of our singers will be recording on their phones, we want to sweeten up the sound a little by adding a little bit of EQ and reverb to make it sound more like it would live or in a studio.
Thanks, Kathleen. A virtual choir project can be as simple as a photo collage, a classic grid layout, or as complex and creative as your time, software, computing power, and imagination will allow. I'm editing in Final Cut Pro, but there are many options from freeware to the most powerful tools that Hollywood filmmakers use. The process of video editing is fairly straightforward. It may look complicated when you see my time-lapse editing, but it truly is just a series of steps that you can follow to get your project accomplished. To get started, you'll need to import all of your clips. This will include your mixed audio, your video submissions from singers, any B-roll you want to use, and any still images you'll want to add to your project. After you've synced your video clips to your audio mix, you'll want to use your transform, crop, color correction tools to get everything looking just right. At this point, you'll also want to think about adding titles and generators to just dress your project up a bit. The sky's the limit here, but you can create something really beautiful in under an hour once you've learned how to use your software tools. After that, it's just a matter of where your creativity will take you. It's also a perfect time to collaborate with everyone involved in the project.
So now that you've made your video, where can you show it? Well, when you apply for your licensing, you should have a clear idea of where, when, and how you will show your video. Will you put it on YouTube and leave it there, or will you show it once during a live presentation? Now, when considering your platform, remember that your virtual choir can reach far more people than can attend your concerts, and that people are actively searching for virtual performances by groups just like yours. For example, after my first virtual choir, a local TV station called and asked if we could perform on a special Memorial Day broadcast. Just think of the opportunities. I hope you've become excited to join the virtual choir revolution, but just in case you're still a little leery, let me toss this back over to Laura.
Creating virtual choirs can be challenging, but also rewarding and fun.
This is a scary moment filled with lots of uncertainty, but if we work hard and help one another, we can get through it.
Musicians are creative and resilient. We can carry that into this work in the virtual world.
And remember, there are lots of resources out there and people like us who can help you every step of the way. Good luck and have fun.